I can see right now, because it's saying switch to Linux containers, that I'm hosting Windows containers. We have some settings here. There's a configuration file that if you want to turn things on and off, you actually have to edit a configuration file. Here's information about that configuration file. I'm not going to go into that. You know, if you want to switch between Linux and Windows, it kind of gives you how to do it.
What do we do for the Docker ID and password?
I'm sorry?
The Docker ID and password?
I'm not signing in. We're just using the free version.
Professor?
Yeah.
I guess it's online.
This was the one installation? Or was it started? Okay, try to use the doesn't work this time. Uninstall and stuff. So I just closed this. Also,
I want to show you something. Some people will open up, they'll click on a link and it'll open up Internet Explorer. I want to show you something on Windows Server. If I go to Server Manager, go to Local Service, I have something called Internet Explorer Enhanced Security Configurations on. By default, Windows Internet Explorer will not run any JavaScript, any script at all. They don't want you to surf the internet on server. I can unlock that, or I can just use Chrome. So I'm going to click on the Start menu, type defaults. This will work on Windows 10 too. Go to Default Applications, then on your web browser, choose Chrome. So from this point on, it'll launch Chrome as opposed to Internet Explorer. Guys, Microsoft has given up on Internet Explorer. Microsoft tried to come out with another browser called Edge. They gave up on that. Now they're taking the Chromium source code and coming out with a new version of Edge based on Chrome. If you haven't used it, it's really nice. Yeah, just, if you want to be the beta user for Edge, you can download it. It's really nice software, a really nice browser. Some of the things that Google is blocking, like adware and stuff like that, Edge will allow you to run. You can download Chrome, what do they call it, extensions, and use them on Edge. Guys, I'm just waiting for people to get Docker up and running. So let's go into PowerShell non-ISE, just the regular PowerShell. Type Docker version, and that'll make sure that'll make sure that your Docker's running. If you type Docker alone, it will give you help. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Chrome, you can just watch. I'm gonna do Docker Windows images. And it'll take me to the Docker Hub and allow me to look at all the Windows images. I have server core images, Windows Nano server images. What's IoT? Internet of Things. Like, so it's like a little ARM-based OS. I could do Windows OS-based images. I'm going to look at the Nano server first. So they tell you to copy this. Copy that. Paste it in your PowerShell, and that will download an image. Guys, when you copy it and you right-click in PowerShell, paste the command. And it doesn't work. What it's doing is there's an apply : latest here. Most operating systems hosted on Docker will have multiple versions. Every time they update it, they're going to have a new version. So instead of you having to look up what version it is, you can say : latest, and it will grab the latest, like Ubuntu, it'll grab the latest update. Well, Windows stopped supporting the latest tag. So if I go back to, guys, and you can just type this command, it's not going to work anyways. If I scroll down further, they tell me to run this command. Well, this repo does not publish or maintain a latest tag. So this is the tag, and it indicates which version of the image that you want. For some reason, I couldn't, we're going to try this again, I couldn't get this to run. So I had to go back to an even older version. So I'm going to try this. Let's see if we can actually do it. : 1903. That is the version, the latest version of Windows Server. So I couldn't pull it. It won't even allow me to download the image. Guys, does anyone remember the version of Windows right before 1903? Sorry, numlock. Someone said it, 1809. That will pull. So I want you to run this command to download the latest that we can download version of Windows Nano Server.
Reading the same error.
For 1809? Because yours is running Linux.
I'll switch to Windows controllers.
Switch to a window controller. Okay. No, switch. Oh, you did? Okay.
Do I have to restart any?
No. But sometimes it doesn't work. So you might have to uninstall it. Okay, good, that's good. Now try to hit it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So type this command. bottom command. Let's, right here. Yeah, so guys, if you do a poll, you might have to go to some forums to find out the tag. They have multiple versions of Nano Server. That is the tag to show which one they're doing. And this will say when it was actually updated. We'll get to that. I want to let people finish the poll. Guys, if you wanted to download Server Core, what do you think you change? Yeah, just type in, instead of Nano Server, do Server Core. Now the license is going to be based on the license of your real machine. So whatever license you have for the real machine will apply to the container. Guys, you can actually get certified in Docker now. You can become a Docker master. And we have a couple of people who work here that also work in Ultimate Software. They're big on containers. And incidentally, those same guys are the guys that told me about Vagrant. This will show me, I don't care which command you run, same results. This will show you images you downloaded when they were created. Guys, I'm going to do a poll of Server Core as well. Guys, I never tested Server Core in 1903, so I'm just going to do Server Core 1809. Server Core is a lot bigger than Nano. What's the difference between Microsoft Server and Microsoft Server with desktop experience? Microsoft Server Core and Server with desktop experience. One has a GUI, one doesn't. What's the difference between Server Core and Nano Server? Server Core has a command line interface. Nano doesn't. It doesn't have a graphic interface or a command line interface. Everything has to be done remotely. Look at the size of the image, guys. If you were paying a cloud provider for disk space, what do you want to pay for, this or this? Money is driving this technology. People are accepting it because it's cheaper to use than Docker was originally written for who? For which OS? Linux. So it's case sensitive. So be aware of that. Windows isn't, Docker is. Guys, I'm going to pause this video. Might as well do our first break now. So guys, I have two images. One for server core, one for nano server. So I'm going to hit Docker alone to see the commands. Okay, I'm going to type Docker -- help. Hopefully see more commands. No. So I'm going to do Docker run -- help. Like right here is a run command. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can do once you've downloaded the image, because we've just downloaded base images that we can use to create containers. So we're going to do some commands. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to explain some of the common ones that we're going to use. Now with Docker, people don't go directly. Let's say I have my real machine. Then I have a container hosting a web server. People don't go to the IP of the container to get to that web server. They go to the IP of the virtual machine. So I want to map port 80 on the container to port 8888 on the real machine. So when they go to the real machine, port 8888, it'll take me to the web server on the container. So we're going to publish a lowercase. We're going to publish ports on the container to ports on the real machine. That's how you get to the actual container. So if you want to host a web server on the container that listens on port 80, I can do 80 on the real machine, as long as my real machine doesn't have a web server installed. I know we do, so I'm not going to do that. So if you want to get to that container, you're going to go to port 8888. When I run it, I also need to give the container a name. And that's right here. Some of these commands have a short version or a long version. So with P, I can either do -P or type -- publish. But with the name command, I only have -- name. So I'm also going to assign a host name to the container. I can use the -H or -- host name. What is TTY? Okay, guys, there's these teletype machines. Back in the day, you would type a message. It converted that to some sort of binary signal sent it across the line, and the other teletype machine will print out the message. Well, the technology we use to do that is how we open up terminals to machines. So it's still the same technology. So TTY is open a teletype connection, assign a teletype connection for that virtual machine. Really just like allocate it. So we want to make sure that we can remote into the virtual machine to do things. And then you have to specify the image. So right now we're going to create a container. We're going to do Docker run. We're going to publish port 80 to 8888 on the real machine, because that's how we get to the container. That's how we get the container to offer a service to our network. Because you don't go directly to the container IP, you go to the IP of the real machine. The name of the container is NanoServer 1. Guys, let me show you what I is, interactive. Meaning, allow you to connect to that machine anytime you want. Keep that connection open. T, assign a teletype terminal to it, and what image we want to base it on. mcr.microsoft.com Windows Nano Server with a tag of 1809. Oh, I screwed up. Guys, I'm going to type exit. No, I'm not. If I type exit, it'll shut down the virtual machine. It'll shut down the container. I'm going to do Docker. Here, guys, I'm going to go back so you can see the command. How many people didn't hit enter yet? Okay. Do -h ns1. I forgot to assign the host name.
What's after the first NS1? The dash what?
-I.
I. Kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps.
Okay. ITHNS1. Guys, this is case sensitive. Don't make this uppercase because you'll have to be uppercase. Then the image, what is this container based on? So if I want to create 10 containers based on that one image, I can. And each container do something, some small little task. Especially with nanoservers. Nanoservers can't do a bunch. Nanoservers could be a DNS server, a web server, something simple.
I want to come back in the middle.
I'm sorry?
I want to come back to go because you just put the NS1.
Oh, just type exit.
You just hit like the arrow keys.
Go back. The arrow key?
There you go.
Yeah, I can take space dash NS1 space. And I'm going to have NS1 in the first.
Yeah, you're gonna have to space.
Space.
And that's right. And let me explain.
This is the name of the container, and this will be the name that you're actually naming inside the server. So this will be the name of the container, this will be the host name of that container. You can hit enter, type host name, and you should get NS1. Guys, you gotta slow me down, because some of this stuff is like breathing to me. And I just go on autopilot, and so once you connect, type host name. And then host name. Just like I did, but I forgot to set my host name.
Oh.
Right where you are.
What command I can send to repeat the place? Control.
Up on the, what's it called?
Okay, yes,
Therapy.
Therapy. That's okay.
The arrow key?
Control.
No, just the arrow key. What is the arrow key?
So I did the same thing. I'll show you
Just
how.
hit up on there. Hit up.
Okay, so guys,
There you go.
type exit.
Please get it to work.
Sorry.
Oh, because you have a dash right there. Keep it at dash. You're trying to set the memory. Because you have a space after Microsoft.
Here?
Yeah.
Not using the T. No questions. Just move your.
Type post. Okay, then type exit to exit the container. Now look what we did. I'm gonna do Docker container list. When you type exit, it deletes the container. It's gone. So I'm going to create another container, NS2. I'm going to call it host NS2. I'm not going to hit enter. I'm going to give you time to type it. Because I want to go back to this command, ns2-a. My container is not running. Sorry, it's not. It's still there. It's just not running. So I'm going to create another container called ns2. Can I hit enter? So now I'm connected. If I type host name, ns2. I'm going to type Control P, Control Q. Control P, Control Q. Now list my container. Instead of exit, Control P, Control Q. That leaves the container up and running. So if you want to connect to a container and leave it running and disconnect, don't type exit. That shuts it down. Control P, Control Q. Guys, if I do without the dash A, it only shows me running containers. The dash A shows you running and non-running containers. So image list will list all the images that you've downloaded. Container list will list all the images that are running. Container list dash A will list all your containers, both running and non-running. So we disconnected from a container. How do you think if we want to connect to it and do a command? Docker attach ns2. That will reconnect us back to the container. Control P, Control Q. Now type Docker container list dash A. That was right. Control P, Control P, Control Q. Yeah. Control Q. Now you can Docker container list. Dash A. Good. Why not? Control P, Control Q, which just that. Control P, Control, good. Now you're disconnected. Now you can run the command. So you're you didn't have a container on NS2. So hit the up arrow. Then just NS2 and NS2. Now type Control P, Control Q. Now you disconnect. Now run this command to see your containers. So if we want to reattach to NS2, just type Docker attach NS2 and it'll reattach you right where you left off. Guys, I'm not going to go into what you can do with a container as far as installing software. I'll give you one example, but that's beyond what we're doing now is just how to build containers, how to start them, how to connect to them, things like that. So how do we disconnect? Exit will shut it down. Control P, Control Q. That'll disconnect you from the container, but leave it running. If we didn't put this dash I and this dash T, we wouldn't be able to do that. We wouldn't be able to connect to or disconnect from it because we're not opening it, we're not keeping a terminal assigned to it, and we're not keeping the ability to send it data. So you need to be careful when you create a container with this command. If you don't list the I and T, you won't be able to disconnect. You press Control P, Control Q, it won't allow you to disconnect. So you'll be able to connect to it once, run something, then exit and close down the container. So the ability to connect and disconnect is because we used I and T. So right now, this run command will actually create a container and start it. We could manually create a container and then start it later. So let's create another container. So guys, I'm going to go up to this command. Yes.
On the text, you have the port second and the increment.
Sorry. I flipped that. This is the port. He's right. I flipped it. This is the port on the real machine. This is the port on the nano server. It should have been 888880. It doesn't really matter. We're not really hosting anything. But yes, the first port should be on the real machine. The second port is what the application is being hosted on inside the nano server. Okay, so guys, based on your knowledge of Docker, how can I start this machine? How can I start NS1? Because it's no longer running. Why will it not allow me to start it? Because I said I've associated that port number with NS2. If I try to start it again, I'm already using that port. So, what do you think? How do we stop NS2? Okay, now we can start NS1. So if you have two containers using the same port on the real machine, you can't start them at the same time. So if you're doing, another thing is, what I use containers for is to practice things. Practice something on a container. I might have two different containers because, guys, if you look at the book, and I come up with these labs, how do I come up with the labs? I get my hands on the keyboard and I practice. So I started using containers just to be able to practice doing things. So I'll do it on one container. Oh, that didn't work, try it on a different container. And if you're trying to use the same port or two containers, you have to stop the other one first. So how can we now attach to NS1? Docker attach how we just unattach, Control P, Control Q. Okay, I'm going to do history so you can see my history. So here, I tried to start NS1. I got an error because I was already using the port on NS2. So I stopped NS2, started NS1, attached to it, then I hit Control P, Control Q to detach.
How do you choose that menu, sir?
I type history to look at all my commands. What if I wanted to save my history? Save all my PowerShell commands. Because I'll show you in steps. What does the more command do? Shows you one page at a time. What does that pipe do? Takes the output of history, sends it to become the input for more. So I can see one page at a time and it doesn't scroll off my screen quickly. Okay, I'm going to hit Q to quit more. I want to show you that this is a column list. I have two columns. The header for one column is the ID command. The header for the second column is called command line. I don't want to see the IDs, I just want to see the command line. So I want to do history, select object -E, and I just want to look at the command line column. Okay, so it just shows me my commands without showing me the ID column. Then if I want to save them in a text file, I can do redirect users, administrator, desktop, commands.txt. This will save all your commands to a text file on your desktop called commands.txt. Take all my history, show me only the second column, redirect it to a text file on my desktop. What does this look like? Linux. They borrowed a lot of things from Linux here in PowerShell. In fact, Linux commands will run in PowerShell. So if you do ls, like in Linux, it works.
And that text document will be in.
So if I go to my desktop now, I have a file called commands, and there's just save my commands. Okay, guys. Here's all my containers. I'm going to do Docker remove NS1. Why can't I remove it? So how do we stop it? Docker stop NS1. Now do Docker remove NS1.
Why did it say NS1 every time?
Because that's the name of the container. So I've already deleted NS1, now I want to delete NS2. Docker remove NS2. I didn't have to stop it because it was already stopped. So I stopped NS1, removed it. NS2, I just removed it. It was already stopped. So guys, now I'm going to show you how to create a container without starting it immediately. So Docker create if we wanted to host an application on our Docker and have it available for our real network, we're going to associate 88888 on our real machine with 80 on the nano server. The name, I'm just going to call it NS3. Assign a host name of NS3. Make it interactive, attach a teletype terminal to it, and it's going to be based on MCR, Microsoft, Windows, Nano Server 1809, tag 1809. Guys, and they created it. If I list it, I can see it's there, created. It's not running, it's just created. So here's the command to create. Showed all my containers, there it is. Not running yet. So how do I run it? What's the command? Docker start NS3. You want me to come back there, Craig?
Yes. And then after that, what do we do?
I didn't really do anything but list it, then start it. I'm making a video of it now, yes. And this will be on your final. You know, I'm going to have you create images using WDS and Docker. I'm not going to have you do a normal install off a CD. I'm going to assume you already know how to do that. How do we attach to it? Control P, Control Q. Guys, I'm just going to show you the command. I'm going to show my history again. I created a container. I listed all my containers, both running and non-running. I started that container, then I attached to it. Go ahead and attach your container. Attach to your container and then list the IP. What's the IP address of your container? What's the command to see your IP address? So I'm gonna attach and type ipconfig. Is that the IP we use? No. It will dynamically assign an IP to the container. Why is the IP of the container not important? Because when I want to get to that container, I'm going to go to the IP of the real machine. The real machine will map that port that I go to the port of the container. So we don't really need to be concerned with the IP. If for some reason you need to assign an IP address, and I don't know the procedures, there's some additional steps you need to do instead of just changing the IP. You want to use the PowerShell command to do it, and it will work. PowerShell will work here. Will it work right now? No. Am I running PowerShell right now? No, I'm just running the command prompt. How will I run PowerShell here? I'm not sure if it's installed, but let's see. No, it's not even installed. So you'd have to use old net shell commands. I don't know if they would still work for setting the IP address. But you shouldn't really have to worry about the IP address because you're going to use the IP address of your real machine and map ports over from the container to the real machine to have it host a service. So how do you disconnect? Control P, Control Q.
What does Control P, Control Q do exactly?
Detach.
So like Control P does what exactly?
There's no Control P. There's a Control P and a Control Q combination.
Oh,
Those two control characters will detach you from the
Control PQ.
right. It's not. Control P doesn't do one thing and Control Q doesn't do another. It's Control P, Control Q. They just try to use two keystrokes that you most likely won't use in any other scenario.
Okay.
Okay. So what does this do versus, I'm going to hit control, versus this command. I'm trying to stress the difference between an image and a container. The images are what we downloaded off the web. We use as those bases to host containers. So that's just a pre-configured OS that I can use in an image, in a container. This is just the container itself. So right now, we created some machines based on the Nano server image. So what images do I have? Guys, you can just type images if you're lazy. I have Nano server and server core. So I'm going to do Docker create -p. Guys, I'm not going to open up a port. I'm not going to worry about a port for right now. So I'm going to do name is NS4. No. Server core 4. I'm going to create a server core image, container. Dash host name will be interactive. Open up a teletype terminal, and it'll be based on the server core image. Tag 1809. If I wanted a Nano server with the web server pre-installed, you download that image pre-installed. You download a Nano server with server core with the web server pre-installed. I'm going to go to that. Give me 1 second. Let me do another search of it. Docker Nano IIS. If I go to Windows IIS Docker Hub, here is images with IIS already installed. So you can download some Docker images with web server pre-installed. So we just created a server core image. So I'm going to do Docker start CS4 Docker attach CS4.
Isn't the server core supposed to be bigger than the microserver?
I'm sorry?
The server core is bigger than Nano server, right?
Right, that's, I mean, a lot bigger.
So why did it take less time to like start and attach?
Because it's just kind of like a pointer. Kind of think of it like a differencing disk. You know, that's the parent disk, it never changes.
Okay, so it's not actually like, it's like installing anything or like creating new data, or just kind of...
No, it's just creating an area where you can make changes to it, but the original disk doesn't change. The original image never changes. So I'm going to attach to it ipconfig. I have PowerShell, I believe. You know, so I have PowerShell here. If I want, I can install software. There's a lot more things you can do with Server Core than you can do with Nano because there's no interface. You have to kind of get it pre-configured with the web server, something already installed. In the old way, we could add packages. Now, you know, it would be, I imagine you can create a Nano server from scratch by taking the base, mainly putting packages in there, but it would be difficult. Guys, I'm looking for a command. Online, I'll explain what this is in a minute. What does DISM mean? Deployment Image Servicing and Management Tool. You know how we've been using, well, I'm not sure if I've done it in this class, but we do install -Windows features and install stuff through PowerShell. This would be the command to install stuff without using PowerShell, just from the command prompt. So you can install stuff from online, you know, download the IIS and install it without ever having to go into PowerShell. Or you can go into PowerShell and do it like that. So with Server Core, you can do things like, let's say I wanted a DHCP server, or a DHCP and a web server, or I can create a read-only domain controller with it, things like that. So you can do a lot more with Server Core than you can with Nano Server.
Are you doing the name server or give us the so you base it on the name server.
No big deal. Okay. How do we disconnect? Control P, Control Q.
My last question was, I tried to type in read escape sequence manually, and it said the read function does not exist.
You try to, what do you mean?
You see
Manual?
that says read escape sequence?
Oh, no. It's just, that's not what it's typing. That's the output. You know, when it sends that you did the escape sequence, Control P, Control Q, and the output saying, I just read that.
Oh.
So that's not the command I'm typing, that is the output from the escape sequence.
Okay.
Guys, I'm not going to have the second break because by the time we have it, and the class will end. So let's do this. Docker, container, list all. So there's my image. Guys, I'm not going to do this. I just want to show you. What's the command to remove a container? Yeah, right? You know, I don't have a container called container name, but that's how you remove it. Guys, Docker image list. What's the command to remove an image? Docker remove I. I'm not going to remove one, but that's how you would do it. So RM removes a container, RMI removes an image name. So if I wanted to delete these two images, I can do RMI and then that name with that tag. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you, and then I'll let you go. Right now I can tell I'm losing a lot of you. So, you're going to take it upon yourself to go in the open lab or install, if you have Hyper-V at home, you can install Docker on your Windows 10 machine. If you have Hyper-V installed, it needs Hyper-V. Or you're going to do it in the lab and you're going to practice. Guys, if you look at the stuff that I put on on D2L, what does these two top lines do? That's the URL to get the Docker. So what does Docker pull do? Downloads an image. Docker stop stops a container. Starts a container. Attaches to the container. What does image list do? List the images. What does Docker container list do? How do you delete a container? How do I create, start, and connect to a container all in the same command? With the I, with the T. So when I do run, it connects me to that container. Creates a container, starts a container, then connects me to the container.
What's the IoT?
I is interactive, T keeps it interactive.
Interactive means that like you can always connect with it.
Correct.
And then T, what does T mean?
Associate a teletype terminal for that, not associate, set aside, let's see what the help calls it. Docker run help. T. Allocate a terminal to that container.
Okay.
So if I want to disconnect from it and keep it running, Control P, Control Q keeps it running, exit will stop it. So if I wanted to do that same thing in 3 different commands, I can manually create it, start it, then attach to it. Guys, and also for giggles, I showed you how to create your own little Docker file. I'm not really, this would be a sample Docker file. I could create a folder. In that folder, create a file starting .docker. It might be Docker file. No, just called Docker. It might be .docker, but I think it's just called Docker. You create this file with this content in it. In a folder. Then you run this command and it'll build an image for you with all that software there. Most people don't run Docker commands. What they do is they just create a file, drop it in a folder called Docker, then run this command to build that image. And then they'll have a custom image for themselves. So if you need images with certain software already pre-installed, just create a Docker file, create an image, a custom image, and at that point, you can use that image. You see how I put IIS? That's the tag. So when I create the image, I'll use that tag. The latest, meaning if you rebuild it, it'll always grab the later one. So I'm not going to go into this, but if you want to play around with this and you want to watch those videos online, This is kind of a sample Docker file. So instead of running all these commands, you can grab something, create it. If you want, you can then upload it to Docker. If you create a user account and you're a member of Docker and you pay for the subscription, you can upload your images to Docker, so they'll be always available to you wherever you go. You can play around with that as well. Guys, there's a graphic interface for this. Kitematic or something like that. Let me figure it out. Docker GUI. Here, we can go to this and get a graphic interface. So do a search of Docker GUI and go to, there's a bunch of them. I'm just going to go with this one right now. You can use whatever one you want if you want one at all. It'll take you to the website. Then it's going to say, wait a second, we've integrated this with another piece of software, and take you to another website. So I'm going to go here, and it's saying, now part of Docker Toolbox. So go download Docker Toolbox.
That's a lot of.
Wait, Docker Toolbox is no longer supported.
I'm gonna say there's a lot of.
But if you still want to download Kitematic, you can click it here.
There's a lot of. What's it called? Thumbs down.
Scroll down. Download the latest version. I want to do a Windows version. You download it, unzip it, double click it, launch it. Show in folder. Extract all. There's the application right there. I'm going to do run anyways. Skip for now, I'm not going to sign in. So here's my images. I can stop them, start them, execute commands. It actually crashes. A lot of people don't use this. If you want to play around with it, you're more than welcome to. Get in the lab, get comfortable creating images, downloading images, starting containers, things like that. Nothing fancy. Just be able to download it, an image, create a container based on that image, be able to stop it, start it, connect to it, things like that. Basic Docker stuff. I'm not concerned what the image is. Guys, this a lot of companies are climbing on board so this is important for you to understand. The video will be there. You have servers in the Open Lab you can get to. You got to practice. Okay? If I go too in detail, you guys don't have the fear of God, then you don't go practice. I need you to go practice.